All right then, Old Trafford Monday night saw the introduction of Casemiro to the Manchester United fan base. And I thought it very telling how one of the first people he goes and greets as soon as he's waved to the crowd is Roy Keane. They're not exactly the same in terms of players, but from one tough tackling defensive midfielder to another, if he's able to embody even anything that Roy Keane embodied in a Manchester United shirt, my God, we are off to an absolute winner. Under Ten Hag so far, when building out from the back, Manchester United have tried to line up in a 3-3-3-1 when we're playing out. Something that you would have seen a lot of during Bielsa at Leeds, something he tries to favour. And obviously Pep Guardiola likes something very similar as well. And the reason for that is it creates support in half space all over the pitch. It gives angles all over the pitch, and it makes it easier to build play through the thirds. This setup allows any player in possession to always have players at angles, at convenient passing space, and it enables them to be able to receive and then to maximise their options on the ball once they've received it. And it makes United less rigid. At times when we've had quite rigid sort of systems, Louis van Gaal springs to mind on this one, it was quite linear and it was quite boxy. And I think to evolve in football, you always want to be looking forward. You always want to be trying to create angles and create space. And for some reason, a 45-degree angle rather than a 90-degree angle seems to just work in a way that the 90-degree angle doesn't. And in theory, it shouldn't make much of a difference, but in practice, it makes a hell of a lot of difference. And Johan Cruyff was a big proponent of trying to find 45-degree angles, 30-degree angles, rather than 90-degree angles, and he knew what he was talking about. Now, for me, this is where Casemiro will provide United with immense quality. People are going to talk about the defensive aspects of the game, but we've bought Casemiro for his ball playing ability. And forget what Graham Souness said about Casemiro never being a top player and thinking he's limited in possession. Honestly, I think he should never be in front of a microphone again, because that is hands down as bad an opinion as I've ever heard. Casemiro will slot in as the more disciplined of the midfield pivot, operating as the defensive anchor in midfield. Of course, his defensive mindset, his defensive attributes, his defensive metrics, and his defensive instincts are second to none. And he will occasionally drop in and operate as a third centre-half as cover when both the fullbacks push up the pitch. When a team is countered, he very often, for Real Madrid at least, slots in behind the fullback where that attack has come from and usually makes a decent tackle in that sort of area. When both the fullbacks are pushing up the pitch, that's his job, to offer a screen, not just in front of the centre-halves, but the width of the pitch to be able to get across. So when a team does attack us, we have got cover and stability in that area. Now, our centre-halves often have been left exposed in recent years because we haven't had that top-quality defensive midfielder. He will also be the midfielder that drops into defence to assist in the build-up, and I think that's going to be something that United are really going to use with him. If it's going to be Varane and Martinez, you do have two ball-playing centre-halves there that would be able to move it into the thirds, but if you want to push them wider, enabling you to push the fullbacks up higher, then Casemiro dropping in between them is a really solid option. His signing means that Fred, or whoever it is that operates in midfield pivot next to him, will be much more aggressive and much more box-to-box, where they would be more natural. I'd love it to be Eriksen. I'd love it to be Milinkovic-Savic, but I just don't think that's realistic at the moment. And his ruggedness in the way he is defensively allows the rest of the team to be a little bit more adventurous as well. And I think that's something that's let United down in the past as well, is that we haven't really flooded forward with numbers or been able to get as high up the pitch as we perhaps would want to. And sometimes when it is Fred and when it is McTominay, they try and play the safe passes. And opposition know that if you cut off the supply to Bruno from them, because they're going to play it relatively safe, you're not going to see too many line-breaking passes from McTominay. It's just not in his locker. He's far more likely to play a 10-metre sideways or backwards pass to retain possession, which is not necessarily bad decision-making, but he just doesn't have the ability to be able to feed it through the lines in a way that Michael Carrick could. Well, Casemiro can. Casemiro can play those balls. When you bring him back to play in that defensive line, pushing the fullbacks up, now giving you that two-man midfield and a two-man fullback sort of option in front of you in that middle third, and it essentially becomes an additional centre-back, helping the build-up in the first phase. He's going to be better in this area because he's just better on the ball than Fred. He's more press resistant. He isn't going to make the mistakes that we've seen United lose possession in that area and immediately lead to us being under pressure and getting a shot. Fred is in the 66th percentile when it comes to progressive passes per 90, which means that he doesn't play the ball forward in an elite manner. Casemiro is in the 92nd percentile. That's elite. He's much more effective moving the ball from deep than Fred. And I think you knew that. And he's much more effective moving the ball deep than McTominay. In fact, he's much more effective at moving the ball from deep than any other player in the United squad that plays midfield. Now, of course, he's a defensive machine. And let's talk about his defensive machine. Because this is what a lot of people know you're getting with him. And I think the underrated factor with him will be his ball-playing abilities. I think you're really going to be shocked at how good his ball-playing looks, particularly if he's alongside Martinez and Varane, because they're not going to give him hospital balls. They're not going to play it behind him. They're going to play it into the right sort of spots. And I'm particularly excited to see how him and Varane link up, having played together for so many years. They will have little body movements and little points and eye contact where they know where the ball needs to go, and they'll also recognise when the other's in trouble, which just takes a little bit of a while to build up, but they've played together for so long, that should be quite natural for them. Now, let's have a look at these defensive stats. So he's in the plus 90 percentile for the following: tackles, interceptions, clearances, shots blocked, successful pressures. So all of the people saying he's not going to press, well, he does. Now, he's in the 97th percentile for successful pressures, and that provides an added impetus to the way Ten Hag wants to defend. He is going to engage. He isn't necessarily going to be passive. He's going to get in the mix, and he's going to put pressure on people. And he can provide that ring of security that Ten Hag really wants defensively. Provide cover in the central areas, as well as out wide, like we mentioned, when the fullbacks do push up and try and become attacking players. And he also provides some much-needed physicality that we lack. And he also gives us defensive cover from corners, as he's one of the best midfielders in the world when it comes to aerial ability. He's in the 96th percentile for that. And he wins 68.6% of his aerial duels, which, again, is going to help in both boxes. Manchester United have signed a real player here. As I said when we signed him, my only worry is it's 2 or 3 years, I think, and that's a lot of money for that. I would rather have us gone and try and find the new Casemiro, but he's here. He's going to play for us. Let's look at what he's about. And what he's about is a serious upgrade on what we've got in that position at the moment. I only hope that he's got some longevity to him. I just don't think he's going to have more than 2 or 3 years. But in that time, hopefully he can provide us some stability to upgrade the rest of the team around him, and then we can hopefully find or build his replacement in that position. Casemiro for Manchester United is going to be a hell of a player, and I hope he plays this weekend, because if he does, I think our chances of getting a victory have just gone up by 10-15%. Fucking brilliant player. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.